Will Courtney Whitmore be able to unravel the mysteries of Orphan Island and defeat the mysterious Childminder? Well, let's hop into the pages of Stargirl and the Lost Children, issue number 3 and number 4. Let's get all caught up together, shall we? Alrighty then, so picking up directly from where the last issue had left off, Stargirl and Red Arrow had followed Dunbar's journal to the mysterious Orphan Island, only to get separated by a series of scary egg robots. Emiko ends up coming to in a prison cell, but surprisingly, she's not alone. Her next-door cellmate actually seems to recognize her. Well, she wrongly assumes that she must be Speedy of the Seven Soldiers of Victory, what with the red suit and the bow. It's also in this issue too we finally get a full look at the Childminder, the villain of the piece, and a character that Geoff Johns has been dropping breadcrumbs about in his last several books. She's a horrifying half-woman, half-bird monster who is heavily implied to actually have been the basis for the Mother Goose nursery rhyme, and yeah, I see it. Childminder claims to only want what's best for all of these lost and forgotten children, but it's pretty obvious that that's a lie. Now back over with Stargirl, her, Wing, and the other sidekicks are still on the run from those egg robots. Courtney assumes escaping with the kids will be pretty easy. After all, she has the cosmic staff and she could fly. Unfortunately, on this island, she can only go so far before she ends up coming under attack. Airwave and Cherry Bomb having to go out of their way and risk their own lives to try and save Stargirl. It's also made abundantly clear that time moves very differently on Orphan Island. None of these lost sidekicks know how long they've been on the island, and when Courtney drops reference to her stepdad Stripesy, they all still talk about him like he's a child sidekick. And speaking of all of them, eventually Courtney is taken to Hangman's treehouse, wherein she meets all of the other lost children. Some of these names and faces will actually be pretty familiar to you depending on how much of a hardcore DC historian you are. There's the Newsboy Legion, the sidekicks and helpers of the original Golden Age Guardian Jim Harper. These guys have actually come in and out of continuity a couple times over the decades, though understandably it gets harder and harder to bring characters called the Newsboy Legion back into modern times when no one really reads papers anymore. Then of course you got John Henry Jr., yes, that John Henry Jr. from Darwin Cook's New Frontier, which thanks to universe rewriting timeline shenanigans I guess is much closer to the main continuity now than we ever thought before. There's also several new faces too, like Betty Ross and Molly Pitcher, as well as Red Bee, which find themselves in rather interesting situations because not only do they not exist in DC continuity anymore, but the very heroes that they're sidekicks of and connected to also haven't existed in decades either. Luckily though, as issue 3 comes to a close, Corky Baxter of the Time Masters makes the scene to hopefully explain everything to everyone about what exactly is going on here. First things first, the reason that these kids have been missing for so long and the reason that no one has managed to find Orphan Island before now is because not only does it not exist on any map, it doesn't exist in time, it exists outside of it. How is that even possible? Well, because of the influence of Judy Garrick, the long-lost daughter of original Flash Jay Garrick. It seems that the Childminder is forcing her to run on a cosmic treadmill, and siphoning off that power for her own evil purposes. But it doesn't stop there. As issue 4 begins, Corky also explains how the current plight a lot of these lost sidekicks find themselves in right now is in no short part to blame on Barry Allen the Flash and the original Flashpoint story. You see, Rip Hunter and the other Time Masters were actually there when Barry Allen went back in time to try and save his mother, and in doing so created the Flashpoint universe. They all tried to stop it, but due to chronal shenanigans, they ended up getting stuck inside of it, which means they were also present to Dr. Manhattan stealing 5 years from the DC universe and creating the dark and gritty New 52, though of course they don't name drop Dr. Manhattan anymore for some reason, but it's pretty obvious that's who they're talking about. Furthermore, Corky says that both the Childminder and Dr. Manhattan are what they call time scavengers, people who take advantage of the universe once it's weakened by stuff like Flashpoint and other similar crises. But oh, it doesn't stop there, because Geoff Johns is using this issue to tie together everything he's written over the last few years. We're also reminded of what Batman did just recently in Flashpoint Beyond, stealing a snow globe from Dr. Manhattan's collection and using it to try and create a self-contained splinter timeline for his father Thomas Wayne to live in that was similar to the Flashpoint universe of before. Doing this messed with the Time Masters pods, wherein they kept all of the lost sidekicks and other chronal refugees from universes and timelines that no longer exist. The hope being that once the Time Masters could fix what was broken, they would just put the kids back where they belong. But before the Time Masters could do their job, the Childminder swooped swooped on in, kidnapped the children, and now plans to sell them off to a mysterious third party for a profit. And that buyer is going to be here any minute now, which means Stargirl is going to have to lead this ragtag team of lost Golden Age sidekicks on a rescue mission before it's all too late. Though, admittedly, Courtney is a little slow to act because she knows stuff that none of the other sidekicks do, mainly how their story ends, in some cases much sooner than you would think. Returning these kids to history and putting them back into their original timelines also, in many ways, means dooming them to untimely early deaths. Though sadly, that's going to have to be a bridge that Stargirl crosses when she gets to it. Right now, people need her, and well, she wouldn't be much of a hero at all if she wasn't willing to put it all on the line to save the day. Likewise, these other sidekicks live for moments like these. And many of them have been so busy surviving on Orphan Island the last couple of years, they haven't actually felt what it feels like to be a real hero in a bit, so they're all nice and gung-ho as well. But who is this mysterious buyer who would actively be interested in a bunch of forgotten old Golden Age sidekicks? Well, the answer might very well surprise you. You see, Judy opens the portal for the Childminder, and in doing so is actually able to briefly open her mind to all of history. She sees the fate of her father and mother, and she also sees the face of the buyer, and well, it ends up actually being a familiar face. You see, Childminder's mysterious benefactor is actually revealed to be none other than Hourman, but not just any Hourman. This is Matthew Tyler, the sometimes evil robotic version of Hourman from the 1 Million universe. And it's on that surprising cliffhanger right there the comic comes to a close. And so that was Stargirl The Lost Children issue 3 and issue 4, and man am I glad I got the chance to catch up on this. I've said it before, but it bears repeating, this series is just good old-fashioned, uncut, unfiltered, unadulterated Geoff Johns. A big sloppy love letter not just to the golden age of DC comic book heroes, but also the entire DC universe as a whole. A book that also feels extra rewarding if you've been reading everything else Geoff Johns has been writing over the last couple of years, because it really has been just one big long story. Again, I don't know if I'm fully convinced by the Divine Continuum as this grand unifying theory for the DC multiverse, especially because it looks like the rest of DC Comics has already decided to not accept this idea, and it's not like it won't change 100 more times over the next 5 to 8 years. But Johns himself certainly seems pleased by it, and I always do enjoy getting to see him get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanics of how all of these things work. And at the end of the day, none of that really matters, because at the heart of it, this is just a fun Stargirl adventure story, and Courtney Whitmore is just a really enjoyable character to be around, and it's nice she gets a spotlight. Overall, I think I feel comfortable giving this one an 8 out of 10. Again, if you've fallen off this series, or if you're just really waiting for the next issue of JLA to come out, then you really have no excuse to not get caught up on this one too, because I promise you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to be missing out if you don't read it.
Hey there everyone, Kate Joel again, and I just want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means a lot to me. And hey, if you enjoyed the book I covered in this issue and want some comics of your own, might I recommend Book Depository? It's my #1 place for shopping for comic book trades. You get a great price, and if you use my link down in the description, you'll actually be helping me out at the same time. You get something, I get something, everybody wins, right? So until next time everyone, I've been Joel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.